I never imagined I'd laugh through my tears at the most unbelievable ways people lost their lives. It all started as a casual scroll through the internet, just another dull evening. But then, I stumbled upon an article about bizarre deaths, and I was hooked. I mean, who wouldn't be curious about a wealthy banker who met his end when a rogue avocado fell from a tree? There I was, picturing the moment. The sky was cloudless, the sun was blazing, and then wham, the perfect fruit turned fatal, splatting him right on the head. I couldn't help but chuckle through my tears. Then there was the story of a man who choked on a piece of cake during a competition. The only thing louder than his gasps for air was the crowd's laughter. It was horrified laughter, and somehow, it felt wrong but also kind of hilarious. My chest tightened as I imagined that frantic moment, the shocking realization hitting him that he would never finish that slice. With every scroll, I found equally strange tales. A lady who stumbled while trying to pet a cat, resulting in a freak accident with a vending machine. The sound of her crash echoed like it was happening right next to me. I could almost hear the scattered coins and candies, an absurd cacophony in such a tragic twist. I hated myself for smirking. But these stories had a darkness too, a hint of something sorrowful lurking beneath the humor. I could feel the ghosts in those absurd tales, the loved ones left behind, grappling with the nonsensicality of it all. The laughter stuck in my throat felt strangely heavy, like a balloon filled with water, ready to burst. There was a thrill in the bizarreness, but also a risk, a vulnerability that tugged insistently at my heart. Just when I thought I had seen it all, I discovered the tale of a skydiver whose parachute failed, except it wasn't a parachute. As the story unfolded, the truth lay tangled in layers of miscommunication and fate. I could feel my heart race, every beat echoing the uncertainty. How could this happen? What was the real story? My mind spun, desperate for answers even as I wrestled with the urge to laugh again at the absurdity. My phone buzzed. Suddenly, reality intruded. I looked around me, my room feeling too quiet, too still. Those stories clung to me like shadows, each strange detail pulling me deeper into the world of the unexpectedly doomed. But then, just as I thought I could wrap my head around it, the screen flickered. My heart dropped. Did I just glimpse a hidden truth? Was there something more that drew me to these tales, something darker? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The flickering screen planted a seed of unease deep within me, its growing tendrils intertwining with the laughter that still danced in my chest. What was so appealing about these tales of bizarre deaths? More pressing, what were the echoes of my own life that these stories resonated with? I tossed my phone onto the bed, suddenly too overwhelmed by the laughter I had indulged in. The walls of my room felt as if they were twisting around me, closing in like the embrace of memory. I thought of my father, who had cracked jokes even as sickness hollowed him. How he had laughed at the irony of it all, cancer winning the battle against a lifetime of healthy eating. My throat tightened, the laughter caught like a splinter, and I wished desperately for relief from the storm of conflicting emotions. With trembling hands, I reached for my journal. I had begun to write about my father's last days, a way to hold on to the fragments of joy that punctuated his condition, but as I flipped through the pages, a familiar heaviness settled over me. The uncertainty of whether I could still find humor in his absence or if I should reserve it for the bizarre stories of strangers overwhelmed me. I traced the ink of my hastily written notes, each swirl a reminder of the bittersweet moments. In the midst of this emotional turmoil, a soft knock on my door jolted me back. It opened gently, revealing Clara, my closest friend, her usually bright face shadowed with concern. "Hey, I just wanted to check on you. You seemed a bit off earlier," she said, her voice warm and inviting that I managed a smile, but it felt flimsy, as if it could shatter under the weight of the unspoken. Just reading some strange stories online. You know, bizarre deaths and all that, I replied, trying to brush off the depth of my feelings. She raised an eyebrow, a hint of amusement breaking through her concern. That sounds morbidly fascinating, but are you okay? Yeah, just processing some stuff, I said, my voice trailing off, unsure if stuff could even begin to capture the whirlwind inside me. Do you want to share? Her compassion was palpable, and I felt a spark of gratitude for her presence, a fleeting moment of light in the dense fog that seemed to engulf my thoughts. As I hesitated, the silence made space for my unanswered questions. What was the purpose of these bizarre tales? Were they too a way to navigate grief, to mask the sharp edges of reality with ridiculousness? I found myself wanting to tell her everything, the stories, the laughter, the sorrow, yet something held me back. I guess I'm just trying to figure out how to laugh and cry at the same time, I said finally, my voice catching slightly. Life is messy, Clara replied, her eyes searching mine for understanding. There's beauty in the contradiction, you know. In that moment, I realized my friend was right. Maybe I didn't have to choose between laughter and tears. They were both allies in grief, weaving a pattern that told the story of those we loved while helping us carry their memories forward. Just as I felt my walls begin to lower, my phone buzzed again, slicing through the intimacy of our moment. My stomach dropped as I looked at the screen. An alert flashed, new video uploaded, more strange deaths. I swallowed hard, feeling a pull toward the absurd. In an impulsive move, I tapped the notification, and the screen transitioned to a video. As I watched, the voiceover recanted another tale, this time about a case that had actually involved unraveling a conspiracy surrounding the bizarre deaths. The sudden twist left my heart racing. I leaned closer, enthralled, and then my breath hitched as the camera revealed the face of the skydiver. I gasped, my heart pounding erratically. It was someone I recognized, my old high school classmate, Alex. My stomach dropped as I watched the screen, the absurdity of the situation hitting me with full force. Could it be that the strange tales I had become obsessed with weren't just fictional after all? As the video unfolded, leaving a trail of dark possibilities behind, a sense of dread wrapped itself around me. What's wrong? Clara's voice broke through my shock. I could barely articulate my findings, my thoughts slamming together in a blur. All I could manage was, "It's Alex." Clara's expression shifted instantly. What do you mean? Do you know him? I nodded, feeling the labyrinth of grief tighten around me once again, threatening to suffocate the fragile connections I began to reignite. I had stepped into something darker. Fear clawed at me while laughter faded into an eerie silence. This revelation hung in the air, the unpredictable world of bizarre deaths solidifying into something far too personal. I looked at Clara, desperate for understanding, knowing that everything had just changed. With Alex's face frozen on my screen, time felt suspended, the laughter of yesterday tainting itself with an undercurrent of unease. Clara leaned closer, noting the way my hands trembled as I scrolled through the comments brimming with shock and disbelief. It was a mix of people mourning a familiar name and others relishing the absurdity of the details surrounding the incident. I absorbed the chaos and felt something shift uncomfortably in my chest. That he was a skydiver, right? Clara's voice trembled as she tried to put the pieces together. I remember him posting about it all the time. I thought he was living the dream. Yeah, I think. My voice cracked. But it doesn't feel like a dream, Clara. It feels like something darker, an unintentional cruelty. He was full of life. It doesn't make sense. The irony hung thick in the air. How could I reconcile the joy we shared, the raucous laughter that had fled our youthful conversations, with the bitter edge of death that lurked within this unexpected story? I wanted to laugh, to remember Alex as the charismatic class clown had always been, creating pranks and instigating laughter. Instead, all I could think about was how life could turn in a moment, leaving us gasping for air when we least expected it. What kind of bizarre circumstances could lead to someone like him? Clara whispered, resting her hand on my shoulder, her warmth grounding me in the spiraling chaos. There must be more to this. There was a silence, thick with understanding as the weight of uncertainty loomed over us. I opened my journal again, searching for the heart of my thoughts. My own mortality wrestled with memories of Alex, and suddenly the playful tone of our high school days felt like a distant echo of a life I was beginning to process, only now tinged with the bitterness of grief. Clara watched, and I knew she sensed the shift within Mimi's search for reasons, for humor, for anything that could lift the burden of sadness I carried. That I wish I could understand why these things happen, I finally muttered, letting my fingers trace the page until I found a blank space. The old scars of laughter and joy collided with tendrils of guilt. But I am terrified of what I might discover. What if this is just the beginning? Clara's grip tightened slightly. You don't have to go through this alone. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. Just like we used to. With a shaky breath, I glanced back at the screen, a spark of courage ignited by Clara's steadfast support. On the video, viewers were dissecting the situation, speculating wildly. Maybe, just maybe, they could help me find the slivers of clarity I craved. I typed a small message in the comments, driven by instinct. Do you know the details behind this death? What happened to Alex? Seconds stretched into an eternity as I awaited responses, my heart drumming a chaotic rhythm against my ribcage. The clicking sound of Clara's fingers typing brought me back, a reminder of her solidarity. A reply popped up almost immediately from a user who had been at the same drop zone the day of the accident. It was so bizarre. Alex had been showing off, like he always did. He jumped with an old parachute that he thought would be fun to use again. Nobody expected it to fail. Just remember, life loves irony, life loves irony. The words settled in my chest, dark and heavy. The ease with which the humor melted into grief felt like quicksand, sucking me deeper. I felt Clara's hand slide to my back, her warmth infusing me with hope against the darkness. Just as I collected myself, the phone buzzed violently again. A new message had appeared, a direct response to my comment. My breath caught as I read it. Alex knew something was wrong. He told me he felt like someone was watching him, that had been followed to the drop zone. People were after him. What? I exclaimed, my voice breaking as I felt the world reeling around me. What do you mean? My pulse quickened, the absurdity of it all disregarding the earlier weight of grief. This was a shocking twist in a story I never wanted to be part of. It's true, the user replied. He was worried. Said he noticed weird things happening at the drop zone. Then there was the jump. Something isn't right here. In that moment, laughter transformed into something elusive and dangerous, twisting my stomach into knots. This wasn't just an isolated incident involving absurd fates, a shadow was looming at the edge of my awareness, stretching itself further into my life as I grappled with the facts. That I glanced towards Clara, my protective instincts flooding back. We need to find out what happened. If Alex knew something, if this is connected to more than just a bizarre death. My voice broke, teetering on the edge of panic, punctuated by the realization that what we had laughed at could somehow draw me into a web of threat. Whatever it is, Clara said, her voice steady against my swirling thoughts. You won't face it alone. Her gaze bore into mine, filled with strength, and I clutched her hand tightly, feeling the delicate threads of hope weaving into a tangled story that was far from over. I had stumbled into something darker than I ever imagined, and the stakes had never been higher. The rain fell in heavy sheets, blurring the world outside my window into indistinguishable shapes. The patter against the glass was a makeshift symphony for my racing thoughts. I'd spent hours on my laptop, scrolling through Alex's social media, diving deep into the virtual landscape he had left behind. It felt morbidly invasive, but I needed to understand. Each post, each comment, revealed pieces of a man who had expanded his life to breathtaking heights, even amidst the shadows now hanging over him. Clara was pacing nearby, her concern palpable, brushing her fingers on the spines of the books piled carelessly on my desk. Maybe we should take a break, she suggested softly, sensing the exhaustion creeping into my shoulders. No, I replied, frustration lacing my tone. What if we miss something? What if there's something here that can help us figure this out? As the clang of a notification filled the silence, I felt a thread of hope surge within me, cutting through the fear momentarily. A direct message from someone named Jake, another skydiver who had jumped with Alex, lit up my screen. "I can help you," it read. "But we need to be careful. There are things here that are better kept underground." My heart raced as I read his words. The uncertainty of this new contact spurred a mix of excitement and dread. I turned to Clara, whose eyes widened in recognition of my expression. "This could lead us to the truth, but it may not be safe." "Is it ever safe?" She raised an eyebrow, crossing her arms protectively. "Whatever this is, we owe it to Alex to find out." With a shaky breath, I crafted a reply inviting him to meet us at a nearby cafe, somewhere public where the shadows had less power. As I sent the message, uncertainty settled in, a heavy weight that neither Clara nor I could shake. Would this be a chance to pull back the veil on the absurdity surrounding Alex's death, or would it plunge us further into a chasm we weren't prepared to navigate? As night unfolded, we sat at a corner table in the cafe, sipping drinks that had long turned lukewarm. The air felt thick with anticipation, the bustle of patrons fading into a white noise. Every few moments, Clara glanced towards the door, her fingers absently tracing the rim of her glass. "You sure about this?" she finally asked, the concern in her voice grounding me, though anxiety churned in my gut. "That I am not sure about anything," I admitted, unable to meet her gaze. "But if Alex was onto something, then we owe it to him. We can't let his story end as mere irony. He deserves more than that." Just as I said it, the bell above the cafe door jingled, and a tall figure entered. Jake's presence loomed large, and my heart raced as I caught his eye. He approached, running a hand through dark wavy hair, his expression lined with tension. "Thanks for meeting me," Jake said, sliding into the seat opposite us. His eyes darted around the cafe, as if assessing every face, every shadow. I figured it was time someone spoke up about what happened that day. "And you think that's you?" I asked, adrenaline surging through me, filling the silence that spread between us like a dark cloud. "That I honestly didn't believe it at first," he replied, leaning closer, his voice a strained whisper. "But the day Alex died, he came to me. He was scared, talked about a bad feeling, like someone was looming in the distance, watching him. I thought it was adrenaline getting to him, too high after a jump. But now, I think he was right." "What do you mean?" Clara's eyes widened, her hand reaching instinctively for mine. "There are rumors, whispers of something darker within our community," Jake said, his voice dropping lower, barely audible over the clinks and clatters of the cafe. "People going missing, mysterious accidents. I thought they were just fanciful tales until Alex." His voice faltered, and anger and grief flitted across his features, mixing. "After he died, things started happening to me, too. Strange messages. Warning me to back off. I think whatever went wrong at that drop zone, it's connected to something much larger." A chill ran down my spine at his words. A web of fear now tangled tightly around us, entwining with our pursuit of truth. If Alex had seen something, if he had stumbled into some clandestine world, where did that leave us as we sought justice for him? My heart raced, caught between the urgency of discovery and the threat that lingered in the shadows of our conversation. Suddenly, Jake leaned in even closer, his eyes darting nervously. "You have to understand, there are people who won't take kindly to snooping. We need to be careful. If we're right, there's far more at stake than just Alex's death." Calamity struck as two individuals entered the cafe at that moment, and I couldn't shake the feeling that they were here for Jake. Dark jackets, grim expressions. My body tensed, the weight of what we had uncovered crashing down on me with the full force of urgency. The rhythm of my heart surged as I exchanged wary glances with Clara, both of us grasping the unspoken conclusion that we needed to get out of there, quickly. But just as I made motion to stand, a hand gripped my shoulder hard, a cold familiarity that sent chills racing through my body. "Leaving so soon?" one of them sneered, his gaze icy. My breathing quickened, the air thinning dangerously as darkness descended over our fragile resolve. The grip on my shoulder tightened, pulling me back into the moment, deepening the dark pit that had formed in my stomach. My pulse hammered in my ears, drowning out the chaos of the café. Clara's eyes flitted from me to the imposing figure standing over us, her expression a mix of terror and resolve. Jake's face blanched as he recoiled slightly, glancing between the newcomers and us. "What do you want?" he asked, fighting to keep his voice steady. The taller of the two spoke, a sardonic smile curving his lips. "Just wanted to have a word with our friend here." His eyes narrowed at Jake, exuding a threatening energy that sent a shiver down my spine. Panic surged within me. We had come here in search of truth, to unearth clues that had lain buried with Alex. But what if we were only digging deeper into a grave whose depth we had underestimated? "Just leave us alone," I managed to say, my voice trembling like the raspy sound of a loose string on a guitar. "We haven't done anything." "Yet," the shorter man added ominously, stepping closer, invading my space. "But we know you're digging where you shouldn't. Better back off before you get hurt." Clara's hand found mine beneath the table, squeezing tightly as if her strength would somehow propel us away from this dreadful confrontation. Jake's eyes darted around the café, and I could see the gears turning in his mind, calculating their next move. Could we risk making a scene? Or was silence our best defense? Time stretched, agonizingly slow, when a sudden burst of laughter erupted from a nearby table, drawing the attention of our adversaries for just a heartbeat. The din of voices and clinking dishes momentarily rose above our fear, and I felt an ember of hope flicker to life. It was a distraction, a brief escape from their cold, assessing stares. "That I suggest you think carefully about your next steps, especially you," the tall one said, gesturing toward Jake. "We'd hate for anything to happen to your new friends." With a final glare, the two turned and slithered back into the crowd, leaving us in a state of palpable tension, the weight of their warning pressing down as heavily as the storm outside. "What do we do?" Clara breathed, her voice low and urgent. "That we can't stop," I replied, adrenaline coursing through my veins, igniting a fire in my belly. "We can't let them intimidate us. If we back down now, we're just making it easier for whoever's behind this to keep frightening us away from the truth." Jake, still visibly shaken, nodded slowly, his determination returning. "They might know we're onto something, but they can't stop us from finding out what really happened." Our table felt like a sanctuary amidst a world swirling with darkness and uncertainty. If I had learned anything from the tumult of that day, it was that shadows could only encroach upon us if we let them control the narrative. "Let's go back to the drop zone," Jake suggested, his voice deceptively calm, but I saw the conflict flicker in his eyes, a storm brewing behind the facade. "We can look closer at what happened that day. Perhaps we